Alright guys, we're up here at the Perry Police Department and we're going to be up here to check on the open records request fees that I submitted. Obviously that was the chief that just came out. I guess he saw me and guess he's getting ready to lock down. But coming up here to check to see about the fees that I submitted for a new cost estimate, and I haven't got a reply back. It's been 2 days, so let's thought I'd come in and do a friendly checkup on that.
Wasn't there signs on the window last time?
On this one?
No subsections.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Ms. Duffin had sent me a quote on 2 of those open records requests, and I had replied back to ask for a cost adjustment or on that, and she hasn't replied back.
She's on vacation.
Okay.
There's a message on her email that says she's not here.
Yeah, that's how I was just coming to check in. I didn't know if I would reply back.
Well, you can always email me.
Well, she sent me the cost estimate on that. So
I understand that.
Yeah,
That's her job.
Right, and that's why I was asking about the cost adjustment on that. I guess my question was to her on the email was that for the phone records, to come in to listen to those and record those,
Yes, sir.
those are on a digital format, are they not?
They're on a hard drive.
On a hard drive?
Yeah.
And the other thing I sent her had some questions. I think it was about, I can't remember the exact request, but it was something about the prior open records request statement from the ComSouth as far as what they were charging, what their breakdown was. And I think the charge on that was like $11 or something.
$11 is for the most recent phone calls that you've asked to listen to on like a 35-minute period or something like that.
Okay.
And I can tell you, Mr. Dunn, you're welcome to do that. You pay the $11 and we'll let you listen to them. What you're going to hear.
Right. Well, what I was asking
is one side of a conversation. You can't tell who's being talked to because I've gone and listened to them myself personally. And due to the way that it was set up, you know, between DECA and ComSouth, I'm not sure which one was responsible for what. But if I click on something that says it's this number, we can't tell which officer's on the phone because I listened to like 11 calls, and one call had the officer's voice. The other 10 had whoever was calling from the outside. I couldn't tell who they were because names were never spoken. You can't hear but one side of the conversation, so you really didn't know what it's about. Okay. One was a lady who called like 4 times and appeared maybe to be under the influence or something. We finally kind of figured out that she was probably talking to Sergeant Hamsley because of a couple of things she said, you know, like about Humane Society or something like that. And but it showed that she was on Detective Gilliam's phone, which doesn't appear to be the case. Okay. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what you're going to get. You're welcome to do it. You know, we've given you a cost estimate. So that's the one for $11. I don't know about the other one you're talking about.
Yeah,
If you would just forward it to me, that
okay. My question was to her, instead of, because I know it takes time for you guys to have to sit there and wait for me to listen to all this stuff. Since it's only already digital format, I was wondering if I could bring in a flash drive. Y'all could just copy the files over and it'd be quicker that way.
I don't know. We can consider that. What I'm trying to tell you is, I think when you listen to it, you're going to say, "Well, this is nothing useful to me," you know. So that's.
Well, it's not necessarily about
you know, we're not trying to hide anything from you. We're telling you when you made the request, we went and checked. That's when we found out it wasn't done properly. Nothing we did intentionally or even knew about. Obviously, we hadn't had a request to listen to a phone call for some time because otherwise we'd have known it sooner. When we did, that's what we found. That is what it is. And, you know, there's nothing we can do to change that. You know,
well, you got the program, right?
I mean, no, it was new to start with. It
not about with the ComSouth. I had ComSouth come in to. You said that you.
Well, you know, there was 2 different things happened. The whole city got a new voice over IP phone system.
Right.
And then DECA's a separate contractor that records lines in the police department. But they work with ComSouth on that. We don't have in-house tech people that do that. The city doesn't have their own in-house IT people. That's why they contract with ComSouth. That's just, that's the way it is.
Okay.
Maybe if we were a larger city, we might have a full-time IT staff, but we don't. So,
I think I read a report through the House and Journal. Did you requested new personnel or something for that? Or was that for, no, it was for the drug, you wanted somebody full-time for the drug enforcement?
investigator, right? Yeah.
Okay. What about maybe getting an IT person?
Well,
I guess you don't have enough
that's a city manager, city council decision. It's not up to me. I can't.
I mean, an officer that specializes in IT.
Well, I mean, we've got Captain Buck who has a working knowledge for a lot of that stuff. But when it's an install, a setup or something, we bring a contractor in to do it.
Okay.
And then when it's retrieving a record, he knows how to do that. Corporal Fowler is the other one who knows how to do that. We've communicated that to you when you've asked who could do that.
Okay, well, I'll forward that email that I
Yeah,
sent
just
to her
forward it
to
to
you.
me because I mean she's out of town for several days and I know she put because I talked to her before she left. I know she put a thing in my office. It was supposed to have a date range and apparently that didn't come through.
Yeah, I think mine just said that she was out of office and didn't say anything like that.
Yeah, it was supposed to have a date range.
Yeah,
And for some reason
you already know
that
that.
didn't happen.
Yeah, and I didn't know because sometimes you have to turn it on and turn it off. Sometimes people come in and forget to turn it off. That they're backing off. I just come to check in.
That didn't happen. She's not due to back to the end of next week.
Okay. So, if any other requests, I guess before then.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, send to her, but copy me.
Okay.
That way, if she's not here, we don't, there's no lack of continuity.
Mm-hmm.
But she is the contact person in general for that,
Right.
with Ms. Miser being backup. But, yeah, at least through close of business next Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and just CC me on her, send it to me directly, I don't care which.
Okay. I'll just. She's a record.
But for her to keep up with it, I'd like her to be copied on to do it.
All right, we'll do it. I would, if you got a second, I'd like to try to explain the open records request for the phone thing, if you don't mind, because you made reference last time I was here with you.
Well, I got
It's about 3 minutes max.
I'm 3 minutes past starting a staff meeting.
I'm sorry. You had made reference that there was 13,000 calls on the 1,300, excuse me, 1,300, 1,300 calls on the
For that.
time frame.
So 24 hours a day for those several days that you asked for, yeah.
Yeah. I had no idea there was as many calls on there. My thought process was that because they are on a digital format, that it would be easier instead of having, because you told me that you were having issues with the system, instead of having to go through and look for a specific date and time and stuff. My thought process would be easier for you just to pull the dates up and just copy that information over.
Yeah, but if
I didn't take in consideration the redaction process of that, so I apologize for that. It wasn't to tie you up. I actually did it because I thought it was easier for you just to copy and paste it instead of having to look and listen through the information. So,
if Mr. Dunn, if it was possible for us to actually have a conversation, this would be a lot easier. But I'm kind of through with you putting everything up on YouTube. You can do that at your right, but I'm not going to have you sit here and ask me question after question after question. It's just not. It's not productive.
well,
We will give you anything that you're legally entitled to. In that particular case, the problem with the phone calls is we have a legal responsibility to review and redact to make sure that we don't inadvertently give out somebody else's sensitive personal information that they're entitled to have, kept private.
right. And I understand.
And we get phone calls like that with somebody talking about somebody in their family's medical issues or, giving us their date of birth or social security number for some purpose, maybe to retrieve a record for them or, on and on and on. And so before we can let you hear the phone calls, we have to listen to them ourselves.
Right. Like I said again, mine was the thought process.
I understand
to do
what
that,
you're
and I apologize for that. Maybe next time you can say, hey, there's 1,300 calls or whatever. Would you be interested in for this? Maybe we can save each other some time. Again, like I said,
I mean, if you just tell me what it is you're trying to find, then I would be happy to tell you if we could have, but you know, you've not shown that we can have a conversation like that.
that's not true, because we had a meeting over here, and I talked with you about, with the major.
Mr. Dunn, let's be honest. Whenever I tell you something, you take the position that you don't believe what I'm telling you. And I can assure you that I am not in the habit of lying.
It's not that I take the position that you don't.
That's the way it comes across.
That's not.
You know, when you say, well, what about this, what about this, what, you know.
Well,
It's hard when there's a lot of contradicting statements.
Right, because
When we have 4 or 5 contradicting statements, it's
from different officers.
from different officers. You, Major, you, Captain Buck.
Yes, Captain Buck.
I mean,
Let's be honest. This whole thing started from something in September of last year.
That was.
And in September of last year, you were told by Captain Buck, A, that the equipment was working perfectly fine.
My best guess is that it was just failed to be synced that morning. It has to be synced daily.
B, that it was officer error. It could have been one of 3 things. You knew when you came in February that there was no repair on that equipment because it was not broken.
So what did we find out?
About the vehicle?
Yeah.
It was repaired.
It was repaired?
I mean, so that's what started this whole thing.
Mhm.
No,
And
Chief.
yes, no, you weren't there.
I was
Not
watched it.
September.
I've
He was.
I've been here
Okay,
since
well,
day
I
one.
can't do that. But at any rate,
He actually was here.
Captain Buck researched the system after you called and said you didn't have audio. And he looked beforehand, the audio was working. He looked afterwards, the audio was working. That means the system was working fine.
You've explained that on that part, but
Right.
Chief, I'm telling you.
But then you keep saying you had equipment failure.
Chief,
Well, we did.
what I'm telling you is that, believe it or not, and I can see that complete audio file on that, because I don't have the actual video because the shirt was over the camera accidentally. So I have
Well,
only
that
the
means you
audio.
were trying to disguise.
No, it was on the belt.
recording
It was just on the belt, and the shirt
Okay.
had fell over the top of
Right.
it. But there was audio on that, and it clearly, at no point in that conversation did Captain Buck ever say any of those things that you said or that he said in September.
Okay.
I questioned him, and he said, I don't know why it wasn't. I can only speculate. And he kept saying that. I said, well,
Well,
what-
he can only
what I-
speculate,
I
because
know-
there were 3 possibilities,
But
he
he
didn't
never-
tell you which one.
but he never gave those possibilities. I said, well, when the lights come on, don't they automatically record onto the boxes where it should? I don't know why it didn't.
Well,
And then I said, well, what about the
but
body?
you do know now why.
Yeah, but the thing was, is that up to that point, in September, because I didn't find out until after we had a meeting with you in there about the 3 possibilities when we was talking about Major's complaint. Because Major told me it was broken and then it was repaired.
Right.
So that told me that was the only information that I got. So he said it was broken, it was repaired, and that's what I was following up. So this is what it all
No,
started off of
Actually, all he
miscommunication.
said was it was fixed.
No, he said it was
Yeah, he
repaired.
said it.
Yeah.
But,
He
you know.
said about the equipment. Yeah, it was repaired.
and we've
So-
already covered that, and he misspoke.
But that's what
That
it all started. All this is all for
I
that
understand,
one thing.
but that's been answered.
Yeah, but
It's been answered over and over and over again.
but the actions haven't been addressed, and that's why I keep coming back.
The actions have been addressed, you just don't like the way I've addressed it. I have counseled Major Phelps,
Mhm.
I have talked with him, I've sent him to open records school. See, the part you fail to understand is I've never dealt with open records requests until you. Major Phelps hadn't either. It wasn't our job. Ms. Duffin's been dealing with them for 19 years without any problem. None.
He's told me that he took them, and he said
He
I'll
might have
take them
taken one
anyway.
and handed it to her, but he's never filled one.
Here, you got it right here on the thing.
Okay. And now, do you handle that? Or does the records handle that?
What now?
Do you handle that, or does the records department handle
Oh,
that?
no. I'll get, you drop that off to me and I'll take care of it.
I've never filled one until now. I've never, gone to a class till now, but I've gone to the class and I've studied it up and I've got the code section. And, you're holding us accountable and that's perfectly fine. But we're also gonna follow the law to the letter.
And I hope so. But
But you're complaining about that because there are costs associated with that. But let me tell you,
No,
you were tying my staff up, I don't even know how much, 100 hours so far maybe? When we've got police work to be doing, We've got 17,000 citizens to serve. We've got 46,000 cars that come by our interstate exits every day. We have 950,000 people that come to the Ag Center every year. We're busy. 1,300 calls, that's not unusual. You know, we answer 30,000 calls for service. Relatively small staff, but we're efficient. But, you know, taking 100 hours out of a month and a half of my staff time really impacts it.
Well,
And, you know,
I mean,
and then to have you say, well, you know, it costs whatever, I'm not picking it up.
not
And we've
$1,000.
already spent, you know, maybe we spent 18 hours on that,
Well,
just to get you the answer that you want.
just for future reference, the law says anything over $25, you have to let us know about the associated cost. So if
We
you just said,
we let you know the associated costs and stuff that was less than $25.
which I'm coming in today to check on.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I came today to check on those prices. But
Okay.
anything over $25, if it's going to cost $1,000, over $25, you let me know, hey, it's going to cost more than $25. It's estimated at this. We'll have a final estimate once we complete this.
Well, sure, but I mean, some of this, we can't know until we do it. You know, we don't know how many phone calls there are until we run a query and find that out.
Well,
You know,
and
different
how am I
things like
supposed to?
that.
I don't know either. I'm just requesting information.
But what I'm trying to tell you is, you know, I got to give you a good faith cost estimate. If you want me to just say, look, it's going to be over $25, you know, because I know it's going to be 700 or 1,000 or whatever. I don't know until I run everything out. That's the problem. And, you know, we've given you a cost estimate on something, I think it's a little bit like $2.
No,
You
it's
know,
$4. It was the paperwork, and I
$4,
paid for that.
but we've given you cost estimates on everything.
And
And we gave you one thing for free that we shouldn't have. And that was when, I can't remember what it was now. But
the memo,
no,
because that's what,
the one where you sat down and reviewed some records on the computer. We were entitled to charge you for the officer's time to stand there with you. Didn't realize at the time, do now since we're in the class. So you got
to review the records.
yeah, because we can't leave you alone with them.
Yeah,
No,
I'll have to look into that a little bit more because it
well,
says
I've
that,
got an opinion from this Attorney General's office. I know it's right.
yeah, from Ms. Colangelo. And
So,
I've actually talked to somebody above her, and there's some issues that we're addressing with him. Because there were certain things that weren't quite right, and he's addressing those. So, but I do want to make, because you said I'm tying your time up. First of all, I am a member of the public. Okay, so I have
it's
the
your
right
right to do so,
to
sir.
come
I'm just
and
telling
talk.
you, you asked me,
You were saying I'm tying your time up. Well, my follow-ups on these are based off of I'm still trying to get accountability from your department. Now, you said that you've done training with manager, you talked with them how to deal with difficult persons, referring to myself.
difficult situations, I think.
I think you said difficult people or citizens, I can help you, but in the case. You've done stuff to correct future problems, but you still haven't, in my opinion, I still don't feel that the actions that were taken against me on the 8th have been corrected or addressed, because you said you follow the open records request law by the books. You don't mind charging me for every single fee that you can out of that, but you do not enforce the part where it says that by preventing, willfully, knowingly, frustrating the efforts and preventing access to records.
And you not being an attorney, and me not being an attorney.
See, everybody
I've
was
consulted one to find out there has to be criminal intent or willful intent.
telling her that you cannot take a FOIA request from a citizen.
Yes.
Is that a legal thing you can
I'll tell
do?
you what, until you come back, you're not taking any of those documents. And we already was talked about that.
I don't know if you can legally do that.
Well, I just did.
And the fact that you had it delivered the same day, and it was answered within 72 hours, means that there was no harm done to you.
That is not true, because
Well,
sir,
that's,
let me ask you, you said no.
that's the Attorney General's office too.
You talking about Mike Holbert, or Matthew Holbert, excuse me?
No, the Attorney General,
Ms. Colangelo,
I believe so, yeah.
because that was one that came down for training, so that would be the person that you would have addressed that with. And that's not actually the case either. But
Okay, well,
I'll just say my opinion on this.
You have to
leave
address
that there.
that. Well, see, and that's a lot of it. A lot of this is your opinion, and that doesn't make it fact.
Well, I'm just saying what the law says. When I
think
when I
we've
ask
complied
you,
with the law, and I think the Attorney General needs to comply with the law.
when the major says specifically, I said you cannot legally do that, and he says, well, I just did it. when I'm submitting my open record request, that shows willful
I've taken
intent.
corrective action for that. He didn't know the rules. He didn't deal with that stuff. I just told him.
So does that mean that if I don't know the rules, I don't get a ticket for something? For violating the law?
You're supposed to know the rules when you have a driver's license.
Well, he's supposed to know the rules when dealing with administrative stuff, with
Well,
open
sir.
records requests.
See, this is the kind of conversation I'm not going to have with you, Mr. Dunn.
No, I mean, you're
If
making.
you've got a request, give it to me, and
Sir,
I'll.
I'm just saying, you just made the excuse he did not know.
He didn't.
Okay? Well, other people don't know
I
about stuff that
suspect that
happens.
there's
but
a
you-
lot of stuff you don't know as well.
Absolutely, but y'all
But
hold me
you've got a
accountable
driver's
100%.
license, so driving on the road, that's not an excuse that works.
Do you know every single traffic violation that's out there? Well, neither do I.
And I've been a
But I
cop
get held
for
accountable
over
for it.
39 years. Well, me too.
Yeah.
You know, I'm subject to being pulled over too.
But what's the difference between that and holding an employee accountable for not letting,
For not knowing something that he doesn't deal with and have any knowledge of.
when I tell him that it's against the law and I
Mr.
cite
Dunn,
the stuff
Mr.
on it? But
Dunn,
either way.
We have covered that situation over and over and over again. It was unfortunate the way it happened, and you continue to maintain that you weren't a party to that, what you were.
Or do what?
You came in with a camera, and I guess this fella had 2 cameras.
Same two he has right now.
Okay, well, but whether you want to admit it or not, that is confrontational.
Recording
And
is
that-
not
Yes,
confrontation.
it is. It's
How?
an opinion thing.
First
It's-
Amendment right.
If I,
And
it's
you
your
had-
right to do it, that doesn't mean.
Doesn't mean
not
it's confrontational.
You know, that's not right, see, y'all don't understand.
But you had an
There is,
officer recording
there
you.
is the letter of the law,
Yeah.
and there's the intent of the law,
Mhm.
and then there is the person's reaction to what happens, and every person is entitled to have their own reaction to what happens.
To an opinion.
So, you know, if I was to walk up to you, I'm not gonna do this, but I was to walk up to you and raise a nightstick in my hand, what would you think?
Well, it depends on how close you
You would
were.
think you're in jeopardy, right?
Depending on.
And what if I was just stretching my arm? And that's what I wasn't intimidating him, I was stretching my arm.
Depends on what happened prior to what you came up to, yeah.
Right. Your tone's confrontational. Yes, it is. I've looked at your videos.
How is my
It
tone
is.
confrontational? No, answer me.
Just
because
like
I-
right now. How is it? No, it's not. Yes, how is it? No, you just keep, you're not interested in having a conversation. A
no, actually,
conversation happens this way.
Mhm.
I say something, you say something back. You don't talk over me just because I say something you don't like.
Would you like to respect me the same way then? Because I've got video after video showing you doing the same thing.
You have some early on that are like that, you're right.
Mhm.
You're right.
You know, I mean, it goes both, like I said, I do
Mr.
want to get this
Dunn,
behind
let me
us.
tell you this, I would like nothing better than you and me to sit down, person to person, without your cameraman, without being recorded, my side either, and have an open, honest conversation. If I honestly thought we could do that, I'd be willing to do that at any time. You can tell me what your concerns are, I can tell you the answers to them. But I'm not gonna do it like this, I'm just not. We'll go through open records, we'll keep answering, we'll keep, you know, doing that, and, you know, sometimes you don't ask the right questions, and I give you the response to the questions you ask, and then you get upset because you didn't get the information you wanted, but you didn't ask the
You
right
refer to the
questions.
higher grounds instead of higher ground?
Well, it was
statement?
never higher ground anyway, it was Decker. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
that was a software package, that was just like, if I go through,
Yeah,
a
I can only
computer
go,
store and I buy a computer and it's got Microsoft Office, I don't have any contractual agreement with Microsoft. Never talked to them.
well, that was information I was provided by the financial office, and, you know, it's
I
any
understand.
and all records that pertain
But-
to that,
but-
so.
But,
And-
that came off of a requisition that was submitted by DECA. I didn't even know how the Higher Grounds was until I started digging into it. I mean, I don't know the names of all the software packages we have.
Well, that's
But
the,
we don't-
actually, that
we don't
was the
have any,
software.
we don't have any business relationship with Higher Grounds. That's what I was telling you, that was your question, so.
It was the software on that, I believe.
Yeah, but, you know, that,
Yeah. I mean, you
we
know.
have a business relationship with a lot of companies, and then there's software that's part of that, but we don't have this relationship with a software company, it's just the vendor.
But it was asking specifically about the software that y'all used for the voice over via, VoIP.
No, it was asking specifically about our contract with Higher Grounds.
There was 4 things. One of them was about the contract
Right.
and stuff.
And we
getting
responded
stuff.
to it truthfully. So, but if you wanna make that appointment to sit down and talk, happy to do that. If you want to go ahead and send me the things you're asking about, that you sent Miss Duffin that she hadn't applied because she's not here, then I'll get you an answer back on it.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay?
I guess one last question. My understanding that as chief, that your job is to interface with the public and the media.
It is.
So may I ask why you are refusing my right to record you for the meeting?
You don't have a right to record me in my private office.
That's not a private office, it's a public office.
No, it's not. This is a public space. That's a private space.
Okay, now will you talk with me in a public space then?
No, not like this. I mean, I've been talking to you for,
Right.
I mean, I had a meeting that was supposed to start at 10:30. I've been talking to you, 20 minutes now. I certainly didn't intend to, but, you know, I've been trying to accommodate you, believe it or not, even though it's confrontational, but that's by your time.
It's
My
not.
it's my response.
It's not.
Yes,
my response to
You know,
you.
Mr. Dunn, let me tell you, you can say that all you want to.
Why
If
you
I
walking up on me
perceive,
like that?
just, I want to make sure we're communicating.
Well,
If
I
I
hear you
per-
just fine. Just saying.
If I perceive it as confrontational, it's confrontational.
Is that not an opinion?
That's my opinion. You're
Okay.
exactly right.
Well, in my opinion, you guys have been confrontational with me.
Well, see,
And-
that's your opinion. You're entitled to it,
and
just as I'm entitled.
and I
to mine.
believe that Major was very aggressive
Yeah.
with me.
Tell me
on
why
the-
the thing is, apparently you told somewhere along the line that he's deaf. You don't appear to be deaf. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've spoken to you before. I mean, that was curious to me. It wasn't me that you said that to, but I was, you know.
I might have said something like that. It was just a joke, I guess.
Okay.
Possibly.
All right.
I think it might have been us talking.
I never felt bad about it, and then, you know, I said hi to him one time, he answered me back, so I figured it wasn't that. Anyway, I really didn't need to start my meeting.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's fine, but I do want to talk with you in the future about different things. I would like to try to work with you, but I do, as you know, as my right to record, as you've stated several times in
in a
other
public
videos.
place.
Right. I'd like to have a meeting with you in a public space to go over stuff so that I can record. Because if you don't want me to record in your public, or you say private office, which I
It's
do
a private
believe is-
workspace in a public building.
Okay, but if you invite me back there for a public meeting,
If
meeting
I invite you
scheduling.
back there, it'll be back
Okay, but I'd like to have it in a public space. So is there something or a place that we could set up a meeting specifically for that?
not like this. I'm just, you know, we've been over backwards to accommodate you, to give you everything you're legally entitled to. And, you know, you put stuff on YouTube with snide comments, and that's.
Snide comments?
Yeah.
No, people
Go
post
review
comments.
it. Now, you put your own in there too. Your,
I put my opinion of what happened on there and state
Right.
what, you know, what's
and
going
so,
on.
you know,
Was there anything that I posted that was false or
it was
inaccurate?
your opinion, and yet it was contrary to other people's opinion.
Was there anything inaccurate? 'Cause
I
I'd be happy to.
have no idea,
correct-
because to be honest with you, I've only, you know, I've only looked at the few that I had to.
Well,
Most of them I chose not to, because I had better use than that.
Well, if you find something inaccurate, let me know. I'll be happy to relook at it. Absolutely.
Have a good day.
Thank you. I'll email you that today, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. You got stuff. I don't know what to say on that one. he's supposed to interface with the media and public relations, but claims I'm confrontational, and his actions, how things are perceived. I don't know. It's any excuse not to talk to him on camera, I guess. But I wonder if he tells the same thing to Home Journal, that as well. Alright guys, I want to say a few comments about the meeting the conversation I had with the chief. One, Chief was going on talking about all the people and all the stuff that was going on, naming a whole bunch of different numbers and whatnot. Number one, first off, is that I am one of those members of the public. So him dealing with me is actually dealing with one of those members of the public. Number two, open records request. Any citizen can submit an open records request requesting information from the public, and that is a service and a job or duty that they're supposed to perform. Another thing as well too is that ignorance is no excuse for breaking the law, as the chief said. You know, the case, the example I was given was about the speeding ticket. That the speeding ticket violations, that you end up having to pay the ticket for the fine or whatever like that. You know, Chief made did a comparative narrative or an example that he gave himself, talking about walking up to me with a nightstick over his head. I don't understand how, in his mind, and that intent with approaching somebody with a potentially dangerous or deadly weapon and raising it up at somebody versus holding a camera against the chest, or having a cameraman standing more than 15 feet away from the officer, is in his mind is comparable to the same as far as intent. And I think that goes to show a lot how these officers, based off of other auditors and some of my encounters, are thinking or comparing cameras to beatings with nightsticks. Now, I don't necessarily think Chief was meaning that in that exact content. I think that he was just trying to come up with a narrative in his own opinion to try to explain why he thinks that cameras are confrontational. Again, they had body cameras on recording me during the February encounter. They've had cameras on me during the meeting that I had on April 19th. So, I mean, they've had cameras pointing at me as well. And my own cameras are pointing at me as well as them. So, I mean, there is no intent for harassment or assault in his narrative that he tried to give with the nightstick. The chief, and I lost track of where I left off at. Has said that he will not meet with me on camera. If we want to have a conversation off the record, he'll do that. As I've explained to him, and as my channel states, as he's said that he's watched the videos, or some of the videos, it clearly states that I am a media platform, and it says news and information, and I provide news updates and information on government accountability, which is what I'm doing here. And my question would be, and based off of the news articles, is why he is able to select which news outlet is allowed to have an in-person, on-camera interview between myself and, for instance, the Houston County Journal, that does the recordings of the minutes, does recordings of photography of the officers. I have, Chief said that he's still claiming that his office is a private office, and that he would not talk with me in his private office on camera. My request was to talk to him in a public space where I can conduct my interviews with him, and he has denied that request. I wouldn't have mind having conversations with the chief off camera if his message and information stayed consistent and things didn't change, and I wasn't accused by members of his staff of being harassing them and doing things that I shouldn't have been doing when the videos prove otherwise. And I'm concerned for my safety and my to go off camera with them, because the intent that they have shown already, and I'm using Chief's word as far as intent, for them to stifle my rights, and with the new evidence of them illegally doing the GCSI background check on me and into my Fourth Amendment right violations, and possibly Privacy Act violations as well. They've shown intent to try to cause harm towards me by doing that, in my opinion, and I don't think that it would be safe to go off camera with them. I don't know. I'm not saying that they would try to beat me with a nightstick as Chief's example, but things have been changed on record that don't correlate with the video that I have. So I think it's in the public's best interest to maintain video records of what's being said. So anyway, that's all I got to say on that at this time. Guys, if you have any concerns about what was addressed up there with the chief today, feel free to write him or contact him if you so desire to, and express your opinion if you'd like. You have the right to address your grievances.